Supergirl is a film that I gotta be honest with you, I like. I like for the reasons perhaps other people didn't like it, which tells you how my brain works differently than most. And honestly, I feel that the movie itself, the whole movie, and the whole universe so far, it's getting a bad rep by wrong reasons. Just for reference, I gotta say that prior to the film, I was not as aware of the book. I knew the book was there. I knew it was important. I know people talk good about it, but I didn't really give it much chance. Normally, when it comes about modern comic books, I don't spend much time, particularly with the big publishers, Marvel or DC. I'd rather spend money or my time reading the stuff from Image Comics, from Dark Horse Comics. So I wait until stuff, it's collected to really find the opportunity to read it. And until just recently, I decided before watching the movie to read the comic book. Tom King is a very controversial writer. Not because he's a bad writer. I think he's a phenomenal writer. I know he knows how to use words the right way. But some of his methods sometimes can come across as more gimmicky, or he is copying from certain elements and borrowing everything. Of course, everybody borrows from everybody and brings a story under a different setting. And sometimes I feel like his endings or the finales of his stories are anticlimactic. Of course, he leaves the door open in many cases for interpretation. And I don't like the ambiguity that sometimes comes with creating stories that way. But I would say that Supergirl as a book is fantastic because it's written from the perspective of a young girl, who is in this movie, of course, talking about the past and experience that she had with Supergirl. Of course, this girl named Ruthie. And bringing all of that into the film is a tall task to demand from any director. But I would say that the director, Gillespie, and the writer, Anna Nogueira, and everyone who are involved here, even, I would say, James Gunn as the mastermind behind them, I think they have done a really nice job in bringing something that can feel complicated and make it more natural. But it's not a film for everyone. And this is something that, of course, even the actress Millie Alcock mentioned when she was asked about it, that this was not directed to a particular demographic, but to other people. And of course, people took offense. And of course, that's created that boycott mentality people have. This is not your typical or average story or teenage story, come to age story. This is not. This is a story about struggle. This is a story about grief. This is a story about loss and trying to find yourself in the midst of a life that it feels unfair. And this is what really makes the story shine for me, because I feel that people can relate if you're open-minded. Now, Millie, I would say, is being criticized by her physique, by her beauty. I don't think she's ugly. I don't know why people are thinking about it. They criticize her teeth, her face, all her, her features. And that is a sad reality that unfortunately, a lot of purists of comic book people, they live under disguise that everything has to look the certain way. And I don't think that it's a bad look. I feel that she feels normal. Like I was talking to my wife and she was saying she looks like a normal average girl. And I think that makes it more relatable. She's not this pretty, beautiful, tall blonde with this physique that is unattainable by most people, by 99% of the population. So that makes it relatable from the start. They have made sacrifices, of course, in trying to accommodate the book into the story. And one of the big parts of Tom King's writing on Supergirl is that, again, the conversation, the dialogue, it's so fluid and smart. There's nothing like that here. It's a more straightforward story. This little girl named Ruthie, which is portrayed by this young woman, Eve Ridley, I think she did a fantastic job, but the story is not about her dialogue. She's not telling the story. She's not the narrator of the story, but she loses her father. The story is about she loses her father. She is grieving. So it's technically, if you ever read or even watched the film True Grit, this is the story of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow's True Grit in a setting of space, and a space opera where Supergirl is at the center, and she is the unlikely hero. She's an anti-hero. She's the person that has to save the day. And now I was reading somewhere that Tom King was planning to do this in a different way. His first idea was to actually bring Lobo, which, by the way, is not part of the comic book, but it's in the film. It was the idea of having Supergirl being the young girl grieving, and having, of course, Lobo being the one that has to bring the justice. That was the first idea. It was changed. The editors, they say, well, how do we do something different? How about Supergirl being the one? So yes, it's a darker tone. It's a darker take in a way from Supergirl, but also one that, again, feels so relatable. Of course, there's a lot of comparisons. You can compare the comic book and the beautiful art of Bilquis, which is amazing, by the way, this Brazilian artist, and also the colors are amazing. It's another Brazilian colorist. That's the name escapes my mind right now. They did a fantastic job in bringing this beautiful, kind of like a French style art. It's gorgeous. And sometimes the film doesn't have that. It feels a bit more murky and dark. And I know some people are going to point that out when they try to compare it. It's not completely dark. It's not this gray film or this gray filter that you saw in the Snyderverse, but it still feels a bit more murky at times. But again, I think they're trying to bring that tone of a little bit of seediness and dirtiness. And what really Millie, in this case, Supergirl, is trying to do, Kara is trying to do, it's, of course, she is in another galaxy where there is a red sun. And the red sun, if you're unfamiliar, I'll tell you, yellow sun gives the power to Kryptonians to be strong and superhuman. But red suns make them normal, depowers them. And there are also green suns, which technically were created to be the Terrans of Kryptonians, in this case, Superman, and they take their power. So they depend so much on the sun. So she goes to this place, of course, on the average situation. In a normal situation on Earth, she will never be able to get drunk because her metabolism is too strong for it. So she goes to a red sun where she becomes normal. And of course, she can get drunk. And this is the story. This is a jaded Supergirl. This is a Supergirl that has seen so much, and she's trying to forget, but getting drunk about the situation that she has seen, the loss of her family, the Kryptonian tale. She's trying to escape that. She's still grieving, trying to live in a world. Now she's living on Earth, but she doesn't feel like she belongs. Perhaps the villain is not as good. People are comparing the villain Krem of the Yellow Hills in the story from the comic book into the film, and they're very different. Krem in the comic book is a very depowered, normal being, human-like being. He's an extraterrestrial, of course. But on the film, he's a very powerful, strong guy. I would say as strong as Supergirl in some way. But honestly, whether you compare one with the other, they're just simply tools. It goes deeper on the comic book because the reasoning, the purpose, the reality of the villain is he's just bad because he's bad. And he makes a choice. He kills Ruthie's father just because he couldn't deal with the truth. It's a narcissistic point of view where he feels that everyone is one way, and when the other person behaves a different way. And I don't want to really give you more story here because I feel that you need to read the comic book. And honestly, he kills the father just for no reason. And of course, then Ruthie goes trying to find a reason, first of all, to avenge her father. In the movie, it's not only the father who is killed, it's the whole family. And Ruthie is trying to learn to grieve with that. And it's the whole comic book. The story is, it's so rich. And you can cut so much out of it. And the movie, of course, for obvious reasons, cannot do that. The things that you can do in 8 issues that you cannot do in less than a 2-hour film. We definitely have to be fair when it comes about our judgment based on that. It's an adaptation. There are things where I feel that the movie falls short. But in others, I gotta be honest with you, I feel that enhances the story. Why? Because honestly, I will tell you, again, as I mentioned, Tom King has a problem where I feel that his writing is anticlimactic at the end, the endings. At least this film doesn't feel that way. It comes with an ending. There's a decision. There's a point. Now there's a clarity. Who is the one who actually ends the villain? So maybe I give you a bit of a spoiler here, but you have to watch it. And again, if you haven't watched it, if you didn't care much about it, you felt a little strange with it, I would say just grab the comic book and read it. And then make a comparison with it. And if you haven't watched the film, watch the film. If you can read the comic book later, or you can read it before, do it, because it's going to open your eyes to see some things. Now, is it perfect? Again, it's not. It has flaws in some areas. There's some short spans. Lobo, Jason Momoa, it's fantastic. As he's not in the comic book, but he's being brought to this story, of course, as an introduction into this new universe of the DC. And he does the job really, really well. He definitely was born to be, in my mind, he was born to do this even more than he did Aquaman. I love his Aquaman, but I think as Lobo, he fits the part very, very, very well. David Corenswet, he reprises his role of Superman. He is in parts of the story here, and you can see the separation between David and Millie. Of course, two different, they come from the same world, but their experiences are different. And they deal with that differently. Of course, Superman didn't get the opportunity. He was a baby. He didn't see it. While Millie has to go through it, through the loss, through experience the pain and the destruction. Although in the movie, it's not as told as it is in the comic book. She's born as this city is being destroyed in space. And she has to experience the loss of her parents in the process and trying to deal with that. So there are parts that are changed in this story, but they don't contradict each other. At the end of the day, they really converge and make the story. It still speaks about the same thing. It still speaks about dealing with loss, dealing with grief, dealing with emotional distress, dealing with all the things that you can carry and they can take you over and actually limit your life to keep moving forward. It does presents the same message in a different way, and it changes some things here and there, but it's not far from what the writer envisioned here when he created the story. We don't need typical all the time. I think we have lost this side of things. A lot of, I would say, comic book fans have lost sight of it by pinpointing the wrong things rather than looking at the intention here. But again, it's also a redemption story because you can see the transformation in Supergirl in her way of thinking and really accepting who she is and what she's meant to be. In that case, if I have to give this movie, even with flaws or whatever, or the things that maybe were not as perfect, in my mind, it is an 8 out of 10. I liked it. My wife liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm going to definitely buy it when it comes out in 4K, and I think it's a good start. Unfortunately, it's not making good in the money side, but still, I think they continue pushing in this new vision, and I'm looking forward to whatever else is to come from the DC universe. But what is your opinion, my friends? What do you think about the film? Do you like it? Didn't like it? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? What are the parts that perhaps I did miss here on this story? What do you think about the source material if you have read it? And if you haven't, are you willing to try it? Let me know in the comments below. So once again, my friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button to remind you of the next video. Follow me in social media on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. And please also consider supporting financially. You can do that through the Super Chat. You can do that through Patreon. The links are in the description. My friends, God bless. Take care. I will talk to you again. Bye-bye.